We're here with the Brother Side Podcast. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
This is episode 20.
21.
21?
21.
Today's guest is the CEO of Omaha's Elite Real Estate Group and Keller Williams Elite. He's taken his team from 70 to 700 transactions in 6 years. His team has been awarded the number one team in unit sales in the world at Berkshire Hathaway in 2019. And since 2006, his team has closed over 5,000 home sales, totaling over $1 billion.
That's billion.
Billion.
Billion with a B.
In volume.
Jeez.
Welcome, Jeff Cohn. What's up, Jeff?
Let's
What's
go.
up, man? Let's go.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
I
Hey,
really appreciate
appreciate
being
it.
here today.
So one of the things we always talk about to kick these shows off is the drink of choice.
Choice.
Here we go.
We got Rain.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is White Gummy Bear.
White-
This is special. I think they just released this in 2021.
Oh, really?
I do
New
not.
release.
Yeah, they did just release the flavor in Omaha at least. I don't know that caffeine at this level is good for most people, but if you need a little pick-me-up, this
I
is my
do.
favorite one.
Well,
You do?
It does say on the can, recommended for persons 18 years and older. That's the sign.
Pretty
Yeah.
much. There you go. And you know, it's in the afternoon right now as we record, so I thought it'd be a fun little way to kick this thing off and melt some faces.
There you go.
My face is melting. So yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. We had a late night at the fire station last night, so
Okay.
this is helping. This is actually
You know, it's
helping.
funny. I have my own podcast, the Team Building Podcast.
Yeah.
And we do an interview a week. We've been doing that for about 5 years. And I'll bring guests on as well and offer them a drink. They'll say, I've never had that before. And about 20 minutes into the interview, it goes from like level 6 to level 11. Like we're just raging through.
Everybody's
pinging.
sweating,
Yes.
Yeah.
pitting
Exactly.
out. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from.
Yeah, I'm Omaha, born and raised. I actually just got my genetics back. I don't know if you guys have done the ancestry test.
I have not.
It's pretty awesome. So
Yeah.
anyone that hasn't done it, it's like $100 on Amazon. Found out I was 30% German and 30% Jewish and 1% Irish.
Really?
So I now have an excuse to celebrate
Yeah.
St. Patrick's Day. I was
Yeah.
like 1%
Let's
Irish.
party.
That's pretty cool. But it was pretty neat to see that. But anyways, I grew up in Omaha, Miller North graduate in the year 2000.
Holla, Miller North Mustangs.
It was pretty awesome. I loved high school, middle school, Kiewit, elementary with Grace Abbott and Cottonwood, and then decided to go on a Mormon missions trip for 2 years. So something pretty unique about my background is I spent 2 years of my life, 19 years old and 20 years old in Brazil.
Wow.
And so I learned fluent Portuguese while in Brazil, and upon my return to Omaha, not very many people here speak Portuguese.
No.
So I started practicing Spanish, which is really similar to Portuguese,
Sure,
so I'm trilingual. And so I started college. I did 1 year before I left, and then when I got back, I finished at UNO with an undergrad in business and graduated in 2006.
Wow. Do you still remember all the Portuguese?
Yeah, falo fluentemente.
Ah, okay.
Wow.
I speak fluently.
That's awesome, man.
We're just going, yeah, like
Yeah.
we assume we
It's
yeah.
weird, man. It's
I
cool.
assume
like,
you said something.
a lot
that-
of people here local don't, you know, a lot of people that I'm close to don't speak another language, but it does come in handy a lot with all the travel that I do.
Sure.
So a lot of places I go and travel, I can use Spanish or Portuguese. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how'd you decide on Brazil, or did you decide?
So yeah, you don't get to choose.
Okay,
It's really interesting.
all right.
You just kind of put in and just say, hey, you can say you lean towards wanting to go international, which I obviously wanted that
Yeah.
experience. But what's funny, when I read my mission calling, it said you're going to Brazil, and I'm thinking of like the jungle of Brazil. Like
Yeah,
I'm in the Amazon jungle.
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
gonna be
You're
like
thinking
hiking
Predator.
through the jungle.
Yeah.
It's the biggest city in the world. So I started in Sao Paulo for 2 months.
Okay.
And in Sao Paulo, they teach you the language. So I had taken like a semester of Spanish in high school. So I knew nothing, right?
Hola,
The numbers and colors.
¿cómo
Sure.
está?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then when you leave there after 2 months, you know enough to like just look like an idiot. And so my big practice there, and I guess a rule that would apply to any entrepreneurs or people listening, is I just was willing to fail forward. And I failed a lot faster than a lot of the other people were willing to, because you feel stupid when you're speaking a foreign language and you don't know that you're saying the right words.
Yeah.
And so I started practicing with 4-year-olds and then 5-year-olds and then 6-year-olds. And I failed forward, and I was speaking fluent Portuguese within 6 months.
Holy
but I
cow.
couldn't speak English. The people I lived with only spoke Portuguese.
Yeah.
So I was either going to open my mouth and fail forward or just not talk. And I have a problem where I can't not talk.
Yeah. Okay. And you practicing with the kids.
I would practice with the kids.
Yeah.
Well, the person,
they're not judging you.
they don't care. They're having a good time, man.
Exactly.
They're making fun of you and stuff, but I'd
Sure.
rather have the kids making fun of me than the adults.
Yeah,
So.
it's a lot more fun.
So the rest of my life after getting home, I was 21 years old, and I had all that experience. Like you serve people. All I worried about was helping others instead of helping myself. And it created a foundation for me where I decided going into business at a very young age, it was going to be about other people. It was going to be about being a servant leader and helping people become the best versions of themselves. But I never would have had that start had I not gotten rid of worrying about myself and gone through the college years. Like we were joking off the air to share a story from college. I don't have those stories. When I got back from my mission trip, I got married right away and started my family really young. So I have a 15-year-old, 13-year-old, and 11-year-old.
Wow.
So it's pretty young to
Busy
kick off
bee.
a
Yeah,
family
yeah.
at 23 years old.
Absolutely. We weren't mature enough for that.
No.
I don't know that I was mature enough for that either, but it was
No,
my
at
path.
23, I was pretty convinced I didn't want to be married, didn't want kids, didn't want, and then all that changed.
I'm a player.
Well, then you meet
The
your
person
wife,
you
the
love,
one, and
yeah.
all that changes. Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to start early, and I think my wife and I had a pretty good outlook on having children early and having the money once the kids start to get into high school and then college age to be able to have a career where I am now able to take more time off to do the things that I love
Sure.
while helping other people, but then also getting to do some pretty unique things. So we can get into that later if you want to, but we've gone on a lot of pretty adventurous trips, like
When did you get
5-week
in?
trips.
When did you get into business for yourself?
I've been in business for myself my entire life. So
It's always been real estate?
At Grace Abbott Elementary in kindergarten.
Okay, all right, we're talking early
Our school
years.
offered the first Nintendo to whoever sold the most candy bars. So my dad went and bought 10 cases of candy bars on his dime. And we went and he set us up in front of like the Bakers off 132nd and Center. Sure. And for 2 days, this little, I looked just like this, but I was 5. Chubby little kid, like from the movie Up, if you have the little
okay,
kids and you've
all
seen
right,
that.
yep.
So I'm standing out there asking me if they want to buy a candy bar for $1. Everyone's saying yes. And then I'm like, hey, I'll do 3 for $5. Like I start working these deals.
Sure.
So they get on the PA. They said, all right, the winner, for the new Nintendo system, which it's every kid's dream,
Oh, absolutely.
Jeff Cohn.
Boom.
And I'm like, what? In kindergarten? So like you think about the 5th graders looking
Yeah.
down going, why did he just win it?
Right.
And my parents set me up for that opportunity. If my dad hadn't taken that risk and put me in that position, but I earned it with going out and
Yeah,
hitting the
you
streets.
put in the time.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's right.
So I have a lot of stories like that. In college, freshman year here at UNO, I actually wanted to win an Xbox. And you guys remember like the pop taps? You could go like grab
Yeah.
Yep.
pop tabs and put it in like a code. So I got like a bunch of my buddies one day after one of the UNO football games, and we went and collected like 1,000 pop bottles, and we all played the codes before anyone else was playing them, and none of us won. And so I was so ticked off that when they released the Xbox, I actually hired 15 of my neighbors that were from Tajikistan. I gave them each $50 to stand in line with me at Walmart, and we bought 15 of the brand new Xboxes for $400. And that night I drove to Nebraska Furniture Mart where people were all camped out in line, and it was like -20, and it sold them each for $1,000.
No way.
So I paid all those guys $50 each, and then I was able to give a few of my buddies who had gone through, like we had like blisters on our hands from twisting these caps.
Wow.
So I'm willing to do the hard work. Obviously we were gaming that a little bit, and then I was like, you know what, there's got to be a better way. And the cool thing about buying those from Walmart is there's an insurance policy. If they don't sell at margin, you just give them back. By the way, I don't know if any of that was legal. I'm pretty sure it was legal, but
Yeah, this
this
is probably
is a long time ago.
Well, I had dreams of doing something like that with PlayStation or Xbox. I just didn't follow through.
Yeah.
So
So I was that kid, man.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
always
awesome.
looking for things. 15 years old, we used to set up sunglass stands. My uncle would go buy sunglasses, which sunglasses are like 20 cents. Like,
Yeah.
right? The
Oh,
one,
yeah.
like not Oakley's or whatever.
Right,
but
yeah,
most
sure.
sunglasses you see at like a gas station. So if you've ever seen those like stands, if you remember like 15, 20 years ago, you're on the way to the pool, it's a hot sunny day in the summer, and you see, buy 2 pairs for 15 or buy 1 for 10.
Yep.
I used to set up 4 or 5 stands, and we would average $3,000 a weekend on net profit on sunglasses, and I would run all of that. And then I'd pay my buddies like $20 an hour, and then I would get my uncle and I would split the rest. So I was making really good money at a really early
Wow.
age and setting myself up for some type of an entrepreneur future. In college, I have a lot of other little side businesses like staining decks and landscaping. But quickly I found it wasn't me doing the hard work. It was me. The harder work is probably the person who's going and doing the marketing and generating the opportunities.
Sure.
And then I found people that would go do the labor. And so flash forward to this point, I have hundreds and hundreds of people that now work in my world. I own about 15 different companies. We can get
Wow.
into those today
Yeah,
if we
yeah.
want to.
Yeah, we will.
But I learned a lot of these lessons at a really early age that I've now been able to apply consistently over a long period of time, which is where success truly comes from.
Are you the same guy at the start of the pandemic that started selling masks for like $15 a pop? You are.
I'm the guy that says, what pandemic?
Yeah.
First off. But no, I didn't
Okay.
do that. And I did see people doing it, and I don't think there's anything wrong with doing it. I was actually surprised the FBI raided. I remember there was a factory in New Jersey that had a ton of supplies, and they raided the place and took the supplies and just gave the people what the supplies were worth. And in my world, if we live in a capitalistic society, I feel like people should get to define what the product is worth. If I want to sell this for $15, I should have every right. I understand the ethical implications, but if
Sure.
the government was so concerned, they should have had a stockpile, not required the public to have a stockpile
Start
that they would
making them,
steal
yeah.
from,
Yeah.
which is what they did.
Right. Yeah. That's crazy. That's crazy.
So let's talk about, let's see here.
Eagle Scout. You were an Eagle Scout?
Yeah, I
Eagle
did.
Scout.
One in 1,000 people that started in Boy Scouts become an Eagle. A lot of people
One
talk
in
about
1,000?
1 in 1,000 is the number.
Well, how many years does it take to see it through? I mean, it's probably different
It's
for
pretty
everybody.
easy. So we'll speak to it in a second. The other
Okay.
thing I thought was interesting, I think I had heard that every U.S. president up until Obama had actually been an Eagle Scout.
Really?
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
someone proved me wrong on that, but I think I'd heard that ever since the organization had existed.
There was a lot of presidents.
There were a lot of presidents that had it. So, in our faith, growing up in the LDS Church, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Their youth program paralleled with the Boy Scouts of America.
Okay.
Up until about 1.5 or 2 years ago, when the church pulled out because it's a national church. There's like 15 million members in the whole world, and only the U.S. had the Boy Scouts of America.
Okay.
And so they didn't feel they needed a youth program that would be worldwide instead of just the U.S.
sure.
had this program.
So
and everyone
everybody
said
had the
something.
same
Exactly.
opportunity. Yeah.
So they pulled out of that. But while I grew up, every Wednesday night when you'd have your activity, like a lot of like Catholic faith, the CCD, we would go and work on Boy Scout stuff on Wednesday night. So you'd get all your little merit badges or Weeblos, Cub Scouts, whatever. And then the reason I got it, the cheat, the hack was I'd always go to summer camps. Before I could drive, and most kids that were in my community were doing the same, when you're 14, 15, 16, it was really fun to go to these cool summer camps. Then
Yeah.
once you're able to drive, you're like, okay, I'm done with summer camp.
Yeah.
So we usually get all of our stuff done before we even turn 16. That's the secret
That's
to
the
getting your
trick,
Eagle
huh?
Scout. Yeah, if you don't get it before then, you're probably not going to get it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
That was my experience, and a lot of the people that I know that got it before they were 16.
So do you put your kids through Eagle Scouts?
They're
Or not.
no,
Boy
they're
Scouts?
not.
Well-
no, they can choose to be in it if they want to. It's now the boys. I believe it's Boys and Girl Scouts of America, and if they wanted to be in it, they could. But none of my 3 children have chosen to be involved in that.
Are they in sports?
Oh yeah, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
between the businesses and your kids' sports lives, you probably couldn't be busier.
Yeah, I'm not super busy. I mean, I golfed this afternoon.
Yeah, that's true.
I
Yeah,
always
you
tell
said you
people
came
you
from
create
golfing.
your own world. So you can be as busy as anyone listening can be as busy as they choose to be. And you can be busy about the things that are important to you. So people will typically do what matters most to them, no matter how they choose to
Priorities.
spend their time. Exactly.
Sure.
But what I found was it's not about working harder. It's always about working smarter. And so I've been pretty intentional throughout my life to be sure that I'm doing the right things. And the right things are typically putting myself in a position where I can hire someone else to replace me. So any position I've ever been in as an adult, I knew with an intent that when I went into that position, one day someone else would take that on.
Sure.
So I built an opportunity for someone else. And when I meet someone in my life, I always think, what opportunity could I give that person? How could I help that person become a better version of themselves by providing them with an opportunity? And so I have hundreds of stories where I was able to offer people, both local and national and international, opportunities to become a better version of themselves. And in so doing, my businesses were able to grow. So one example, in 2015, I started a call center in the Philippines. So I have over 100 full-time virtual callers that call. They're the annoying people that when you get a phone call asking if you want to sell your house,
Yeah.
those are they're not all my callers, but those are callers probably calling from the Philippines. But I was able to give 100 people in the Philippines a job that pays 3 times as much as an average job in the Philippines.
Wow.
So that makes me feel really good. You
Yeah.
know, the average person in the world makes $9,000 a year.
That's
And
the
our
average.
average caller makes $30,000 a year. So it's life-changing to
How
get
did
to
you
be a
come up
caller
with this
for us.
idea?
There's other businesses that were doing it, and they were charging $12 or $13 an hour to use their services. And I was like, why don't we just do this ourselves? So we just built it on our own. So we created relationships with people that we trusted that lived in the Philippines, and then we're able to launch. A lot of it's managed in the U.S., but then the workers are in the Philippines.
Do you still own that company today?
Yeah,
Really?
I do. It's called 1,000 Calls a Day.
Huh.
I came
That's the
up
trick,
with
huh?
the name. Guess why it's named that?
Yeah.
They make 1,000 calls a day, 22,000 dials a month. And you're able to find, if you're investing in real estate, which I know you mentioned you're a fireman, a lot of firefighters do real estate on the side, right?
yep.
Either
Yeah.
construction or flips. I buy 10 houses a month. So I own an investment company in Omaha with my business partner, Clint Bartlett. And we buy
What's up,
homes.
Clint?
What up, Clint?
What up, Clint?
He actually has some commercials running right now. If you guys might have seen them. So it's cashofferomaha.com.
Yep.
We try to help people out. So we're the ones that come in when a family doesn't want to have to move everything out. They just need to close in 7 days. They need some unique, they have a unique situation. We'll come and buy the property from them. But what we found is with callers, if you were to hire someone like a third-party calling company, it takes 22,000 calls to find one house.
Jeez.
So people are always like, oh, calling doesn't work. It works. You just have to do it consistently over a long period of time.
It's all about volume.
But we pay $2,000 to make those 22,000 dials. So it's $2,000 a month to hire a full-time caller. And we average over 20,000 net profit. So everyone that wants to do the math quick, that's a 10x return. Spend 2,000, make 20,000.
Okay, Grant Cardone.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to write 100x as my book.
Yeah.
But it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it is
That's
10x return. So
that's
that's
incredible.
how when we figured the numbers out, I was like, we should have our own call center. And that's why we launched that back 5 years ago.
So how do you have connections to Philippines? Just like you know somebody that knows somebody, and then
Nope. So we just became really close to callers that we had gotten through other companies. So there's a ton of calling services out there.
Sure.
And we became really close to people through those affiliations back in 2014, 2015. And then you can actually buy them out of that company. They called it jailbreaking them or something, where you pay like 15 grand and you can take them away from the company that they're at to go into your world. And so we took 2 or 3 key people away from the previous company with their permission. We bought them away from the other company so that they could help us start ours. And I was actually with my wife in Singapore 2 weeks before everything shut down here February 26th of 2020. And the Philippines is only an hour away from Singapore. So we met with my caller for the first time ever after 5 years. I've grown really close to this couple that are like the main people running the Philippine arm. And we were able to meet them in person. So it was really, really neat experience.
That is cool.
To actually, obviously I'd seen them a million times through Zoom and calls and stuff, but to actually physically hang out with them for a day,
Right.
it was really cool.
So you talked about technology, implementing technology. So I kind of figured phone calls was a dying thing. What are you guys doing today to implement
It's
technology?
funny, like we do everything, we tried everything. You talked about KW Elite, which is our brokerage. So you mentioned Omaha's Elite Real Estate Group. That was the flagship team that was #1 at Berkshire in the world in unit sales. We sold about 750 sides in 2018 and awarded in 2019. Well, Gary Keller, who owns Keller Williams, it's the largest real estate company in North America. There's 190,000 agents at Keller Williams.
my God.
Berkshire has about 80,000 agents. So they're huge, they're massive, and they're worldwide. He recruited me. So he had seen all the success we had with the Team Building podcast. He knew about our coaching company. I'm wearing the shirt, Elite Real Estate Systems.
Holla.
Hey, we coach hundreds of real estate agents and team leaders on how to build teams. It's all about exiting the business. So many other people coach people how to sell real estate. We teach people to not sell real estate and run businesses. So there's a book, and there's a quote out there that says, it's not about the money. Gary Keller has the quote on a book called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. He says, it's not about the money. It's about being the best you can be. But being is a state of being. I like to use the verb becoming. If people choose to become a better version of themselves, then every day they'll have a better day. Every day they'll succeed at a higher level, and they'll be able to help other people. And so one example, like when I talk to my kids, a lot of people say, what do you want to be when you grow up? I ask them what kind of businesses they want to own. And the importance of owning a business rather than being a cog in someone else's wheel is that when you own a business, you have the ability to help people inside your business become a better version of themselves. Whereas if you just have a job at someone else's company, you could become a better version of yourself by yourself, but you probably aren't going to have the ability to give other people opportunities to become better.
Wow. That's
So
powerful.
it's just different
That is
mindset.
powerful.
So what's your daily routine look like to become a better version of yourself?
Yeah, so every morning's working out, and I am a bigger dude if you see me on camera, but I hit weights twice a week. I play pickleball twice a week, and I do some type of circuit training or CrossFit twice a week.
Okay.
So 6 days a week. I meditate every day for about 30 minutes.
Wow.
Sometimes I do that in a hot tub or a steam room. My preference is hot tub, which is one of my favorite things to do every day. Just a good way to
hot tubbing?
chill out, hit the hot tub.
Do you
right
have
in
a
my
guided
backyard.
meditation?
Yep, I use the Calm app.
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah,
and
I've
I
heard of
usually
that.
do guided. There's tons of options on there for guided, but sometimes it's not even listening to someone and it's just sitting and being quiet, putting your phone away. We bridge the gap in this generation of people who didn't have cell phones and knew what that freedom felt like.
Yep.
Today, there's a generation that doesn't know what the world is like without phones. And I think it's really hard for them to shut off. And so for me, I have found a great way for me to shut off is to put the phone away and spend 20, 30 minutes in the hot tub. I can actually bring the phone in there, unfortunately, because they're now waterproof.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I try to leave it in my closet, and it's like one of the only times that I'm able to unplug. So I'd recommend anyone listening. I think there's a lot of therapy behind the ideology of shutting off and letting your mind just think instead of feeling like you always have to be listening to music or watching TV or listening to a podcast. Just shut off. And that has been really good for me to gain perspective and realize the world's a lot simpler than what we try to make it. I think we complicate things.
Absolutely.
We really do. I'm kind of like you. I think about business nonstop, and it's hard to shut it off. And I think a lot of it kind of falls back to social media because you see other people doing stuff. I look at you, I'm like, man, he's doing this and that. I should be doing something right now. There's always that need to like stay caught up with other people.
Level up. I like you bring that up because a lot of people are unhappy in our world. And I'm not a therapist or a theologian or anything, but I will say that I find that because of social media, I think people are more unhappy. And they're unhappy because I think people paint on social media an unrealistic level of success.
Absolutely.
Even my world probably appears more successful than I actually am. And I can tell based on how people interact with me. I'm like, I'm not that successful. I've just taken lots of risks over and over for a long period of time. But success is in the eye of the beholder. So perception becomes reality. But what's important is that you are the best version of yourself. And that each of us doesn't compare ourselves to who we went to high school with or our brother or our dad, but that we compare ourselves to ourselves. And that's that idea of having that 20 or 30 minute of disconnect every day to ask ourselves, did I improve today versus yesterday? Am I a better version of myself today than I was yesterday? And am I helping the people in my world? If you're helping the people around you, to me, that's the highest calling. And that's what actually creates true success. So you asked me about my typical day, and I said I started it with the workout, then I do meditation, and then I time block. Anything I want to accomplish in a week hits my calendar the week before.
Sure.
So just like this interview, hits the calendar a couple months ago. So I always know what does my day look like, but I always plan flex time. And I think there's an important factor to flex time. So like if someone says, hey, Jeff, can I get on a phone call with you? I know you're so busy. I'll say, I'm not busy at all. I actually have time on my calendar built for this phone call. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. People don't build in enough flex time, and that flex time could be time to spend with your children, your grandma, your significant other. My wife and I have done a date night every Friday night for 17 years.
Wow.
We have
Once a week?
Once a week.
Man,
we built that in from day one.
We're doing once a month, and I thought we were doing pretty good.
I've been told once a week's the key.
Man.
Once a week, and it'd be 5 hours. It doesn't have to be something fancy.
Yeah.
Our budget used to be $10 on Friday nights when I was in college, and we'd get a hot and ready pizza and a blockbuster movie.
Ooh,
that was
getting
day night,
fancy.
baby.
Yeah,
Let's
hey.
go.
What's your wife's name?
It's Andrea.
Hey, Andrea.
What's up, baby?
Shout out to Andrea.
How about them pizzas?
Hot and ready pizza.
So dinner with the family, we
Yep.
play high-low. We've been doing this for 15 years. So everyone at the table says what's the best part of your day and what's the worst part of your day. And it's not about the amount of time you spend with your family. It's about the time you spend with your family. So making sure that 10 minutes is as much quality as possible, looking everyone in the eyes, telling them you love them. We usually will do family prayer every night as well. So we'll all come together. We'll say a prayer together as a family. I usually will try to hug everybody. Good night. Love you. And
Like,
then,
Dad, get away from me.
no, they still love. They still will hug me.
Your beard is scratching
Kisses
me.
is weird now, probably, but
Yeah.
the hugs are still happening. But it's these small little things over long periods of time, and we have done some pretty epic trips. It was always my dream to go on a 5 to 6 week trip once a year. I didn't know a lot of people in Omaha that did that, but in Europe, that's like a thing. Like families would go on these long trips.
Yeah.
So we've done some pretty fascinating things. I won't say all of them, but my favorite was South Africa.
Wow.
So we got to go swim with sharks. We were in Cape Town for 2 weeks and saw a rugby game, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
We got to do a 3-day safari. So we've done all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Vietnam. We took a catamaran out in the British Virgin Islands for a week and a half, and it was all inclusive. There was like a captain and a chef that would take care of us.
Wow.
So you balled
Pretty
out.
neat. We try to have a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go big.
We're jealous that we're here, right?
Well, yeah,
I mean,
I
ours
go
is like
sometimes-
Cancun for a week.
Sometimes I
Yeah.
go to Des Moines, Grand
Dude,
Island.
We
if it's-
did. Honestly, there's lots of things local too. So we've been to all 50 states, and we road trip. So we'll do like these massive 3-week road trips. So we've done Northwest, Northeast, Southwest, Southeast, Central. Last time was Northeast road trip. We drove all the way up to Canada to Niagara Falls, and then took the Northeast coast south down to Washington, D.C., and back over went New York, Boston, Chicago, Niagara Falls. I'm probably forgetting a few places, but you can do so much without having to go fly to all these exotic places, but I want to do everything. So life's too short, man. Like, I want to.
Yeah, you got to get after it.
You got to do it now while I'm young and fun and healthy, and my kids are young, and I want them to have those experiences. Like, we did just go to Cabo 2 weeks ago for a week with the
Very
family.
nice.
And we've gone to several different countries where the kids could see that the average person in the world only makes $9,000 a year. Like, people live in small huts. That's the world. That's, we think this is the norm.
No.
This is not the norm. The poorest of poor that I know in Omaha live better than the average person in the world. But they don't know that. They're told that they're poor and that everybody else is better. Back to your sentiment of how we compare ourselves on social.
Yeah.
So the whole world sees how Americans live by judging us based on movies and TV. That's not how Americans live.
No.
The average person on TV shows is probably making $500,000 a year, whereas the average American only makes $18,000 a year. So they make the world think we're living in this way that the average person isn't living. And I got that when I was in Brazil. A lot of people would say to me, like, oh, I'm sure you're rich and you guys drive Ferraris and Lamborghinis. And I'm like, well, one day I'm going to.
Yeah.
But my
That's the
family's
plan.
never owned a luxury car. My family only had one car until I was like in middle school. My parents shared a car. My mom would drive my dad downtown. It'd be 25 minutes each way and drop him off at work. And we lived in a small little split entry home most of my life. We weren't poor, but probably not middle class, probably lower middle class.
Yeah.
That's what I grew up with. And
But happy.
happy,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You don't need money to be happy, that's
Right,
for sure.
right.
Money only causes problems.
Can.
Well, there's
Money,
some
no
benefits.
problems.
Yeah.
Lots of problems.
On that note, we're going to take a quick break.
Are you committing yourself to exercising in 2021? We can't help you keep your head out of the Cheetos bag, but we can help fix up your exercise equipment. Don't let your fitness equipment be the reason you don't hit your goals. Call Fitness Machine Technicians today. Fitness Machine Technicians repair and maintain all makes and models of fitness equipment. Some of our clients include hotels, apartments, gyms, corporate companies, assisted living, physical therapy, and let's not forget the homeowners. Fitness Machine Technicians keep your equipment fit to keep you fit. Give us a call at 402-871-4735.
All right. And we're back with the Brother Side Podcast. We have Jeff Cohn here. And you know what? I want to talk about mentorship. Who are some of your mentors that got you involved in business and helped you become the person that you are?
Yeah, there's some patterns I've implemented in my life to learn more and to grow. First was, I would call them informational interviews. So when I was a junior at University of Nebraska, Omaha, someone had made the suggestion to me that instead of just taking the career path that I was kind of feeling was the path of least resistance, I should interview 10 to 15 people that I looked up to, maybe that had served as my mentor throughout my life up to that point, which I was like 22 years old, and just simply have lunch with them and share with them some ideas of where I wanted to go and what their perspective was. And what I found is that if you take the perspective of someone else that has gone before you and you're willing to listen to their advice, especially if they know who you are, they might be able to make some good recommendations. And so at the time, I thought I was going to take a job at one of the, like a UP Railroad or Walgreens management program. I had a lot of opportunity to go with that route. And everyone I met with said, go and, you heard some of the stories I shared in the first segment about some of my entrepreneurial ventures. Everyone I met said, you need to be in a sales job, you need to own your own business, don't go plug into the corporate world, that's not for you. Right. And that was perfect advice. So I chose to get my residential real estate license here in Omaha. I got licensed in 2006. All my friends were taking jobs making in Omaha around $35,000 to $40,000 a year out of college. This is back in 2006. And my first year in 2007, I was able to help about 50 families buy and or sell houses, which netted me $100,000 at 23 years old. I was living in a one-bedroom apartment complex in West Hampton Park off 192nd and Blondo, and was able to buy my first house. I bought a celebrity home back in 2007, which was like life-changing. My first garage I ever got to park a car in was that house. Prior to that, all the apartment complexes we lived at, I didn't want to spend the extra $50 to have a garage, so I parked outside. It's like, what a luxury. At 2007, I have a two-car garage.
A warm car in the winter.
It was amazing, right?
Can you imagine?
It was awesome, right? I loved it. We loved it. We were very fortunate to get to do that, but the sky was the limit at that point once I saw I could do those first 50 transactions. So back to the pattern and the mentorship, I decided I'd go interview the top 10 real estate agents in Omaha and say to them, hey, if you were 23 with my personality, what would you do? And I was looking for techniques on how to assist people in buying or selling houses, how to find clients. That's the hardest thing for anyone that's in sales. Every person I met with said I'd buy more real estate. And I'm like, I don't have money to buy real estate. I'm trying to pay off my debt and pay off student loan. Like,
Sure.
It was great advice, but bad timing for me. But it's just so interesting now in hindsight to look back. I started buying real estate right when I had a disposable income. I started buying real estate, and today my investment partner and myself own over 100 doors.
Wow.
All around the Omaha metro
Holy
area.
cow.
And it was just such a neat experience to get that advice from people that had come before me. So I became the #1 agent in Nebraska, selling real estate as an individual before launching my team. And it's back in like 2013, 2014. And at the time I was wanting to take my business to the next level, and I wanted to build a big team. And in the same fashion, I started interviewing teams all over the country. I flew to over 50 locations in 2 years. Wow. I probably spent $100,000 in investing in myself to become a better version of myself so I could help more people. And so we launched Omaha's Elite Real Estate Group in 2011, and we went from 70 to 240 sides in 12 months. So we were able to help 240 families, and then it went to 350, and then 425, and then 500. God. And we went from 70 to 700 sales in 6 years. So that's where we saw a lot of our growth. And so what I now say, back to your mentorship question, and sorry for the long answer, the difference between you and me, the difference between all of our listeners and me is the books.
Beard. No.
Is the fact that I don't have hair and you do.
Yeah.
My wife was so nice yesterday. She was pointing out how I have all these grays coming in. So I actually have a lot of hair on the sides.
Yeah.
And
The fire's tough.
I'm with you.
I have so much hair on the sides.
On the sides, yeah.
So
All right, there we go.
the difference between you and me are the books that you've read, the podcasts you've listened to, and the people that you've masterminded with. And that's it. And so if people want to become a better version of themselves, everyone listening today, just you're listening to this.
Yeah.
So this is great. Good start. Listen to more podcasts, read more books, and spend more time talking to other people. And I think we miss the mark on being willing to ask people for help. We're in a world now where we don't need help. We're going to Google it. Well, Google doesn't have experience in doing anything. It's technology spitting out an answer based on information that people have plugged in. So go and take the time, even if you think the boomer doesn't have a good answer for you, take the time to sit down with a grandma, grandpa, uncle, aunt, and say, hey, if you guys were me at 20, 30, 40 years old, how would you choose to do this differently? And so when I was willing to do that, I exploded. I grew exponentially, and a lot of other opportunities came with that because a lot of people get stuck working in a role. That's a job, where I wanted to own a business, and a business is something that can grow exponentially without you being necessary.
Sure.
And so when I took myself out of the job of selling real estate and focused on building a real estate business, I stopped selling real estate in 2014. And I was earning a lot of money selling, $350,000 net my last year selling real estate at 29, 30 years old.
That's insane.
But I chose to step away from that, take a step backwards, give other people those leads and those opportunities so I could help them become better versions of themselves. And with that, I was able to launch the call center we talked about in the first segment, my investment company, a mortgage company, a title company, an insurance company, a real estate coaching business, a podcast, and even a few other unmentionables. Ooh. And had I not chosen to invest in myself to become a better version of myself to be able to help other people, I'd just be selling real estate right now, which isn't bad, but it would have limited my ability to help other people. And it was so important to be someone. I had heard a sermon once. I don't even know I think this was at my church, where someone was talking about the Good Samaritan. Have you guys heard that story before? Yeah. Well, the Good Samaritan had created space in his world to be able to help other people. He was able to set this person up at a hotel and take care of them, and he had the money to give them a meal, and he had the time to do all of this. So when people say to me, how did you do that? I had to create the space in my world to be able to do all these additional things. And the challenge is, if you're operating on the mindset of the hours you're working now and all of the energy you're putting in now to what you're doing now, you probably think it seems unobtainable. But you have to change the mindset, change the pattern to be able to create the space to be able to do more. And everyone listening has something they want to do more. So you have to change your world to give you the opportunity to fulfill your dreams. And for me, I had read a book at a very early age. I was in my early 20s called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying.
Never heard of it.
It was an impactful book. Have you read it?
I haven't, but
So it categorizes
sounds interesting.
This person who the book's all about. She aids over 100 people to their death while they're in hospice. She was a hospice nurse, I think from Australia.
Okay.
And so she has the experience of aiding over 100 people to their deaths. It sounds morbid, but she was amazing, would help them in their last days. And she figured out that they'd all start to confess to her their whole life story and the things that they had regrets about. Mm-hmm. And they narrowed it into 5 things, and I won't give it away because everyone needs to go listen to it or read the book. But one of the regrets was living someone else's life.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure on us to live someone else's life, someone else's expectation.
Sure.
We have one chance at this. Mm-hmm. Take your life, live your best life each and every day, and then help the people in your world live their best life. So our organization, all of the businesses I own, including KW Elite, which is our flagship company, Our number one goal is for the people that choose to use us, for the agents that choose to work with us, for the admin that choose to have jobs with us, is to help them live and lead the life of their dreams. And we go further as to help them define what that lifestyle is by creating a vision board. So every January, everyone in all of my organizations has to show what their dream life is in the next 12 months to 5 years. And then we help them figure out what the income would need to be to live that dream. And then we help them figure out their KPIs, their key performance indicators, to show them exactly what they need to do on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly basis to generate the income to live and lead the life of their dreams. And the beauty is every week we hold everyone accountable. No matter who they are, what role they're in, we're going to check in on them. Hey, did you make your calls? Hey, did you go on your appointments? Did you get your workout in? Did you eat your diet? Do the right diet.
Sure.
And if somebody doesn't do the KPI, we don't say, why didn't you do it? Because they're just going to give you some BS excuse.
Right.
We ask, what do you want to remove from your vision board?
And you're like, well, I don't want to remove anything.
I'm not going to remove anything.
Yeah.
I want it all. And
Yeah.
who here listening wants it all, but isn't willing to make the sacrifice? And now your next thought is an excuse as to why you can't make the sacrifice. Oh, well, I was born a certain color or a certain age or in a certain area of town, or I have this deficiency.
Right.
Everyone wants to create reasons why they can't succeed.
It's easy.
If we spent more energy and time thinking about reasons why we can succeed by doing the small and simple things over long periods of time, to me, that's where you find happiness and that's where you find success. It's never getting through a finish line. It's just continually working towards perfection, but we'll never be perfect in this life. And in that pursuit of perfection and helping other people perfect themselves, that's where I think we gain true happiness.
Wow. I just felt like I drank from a fire hose.
Wow, that's well put. I was going to hit on your KPIs. So
Yeah.
you use a program to keep track of these?
So I own another company called Sisu. It's
Okay.
sisu.co.
Okay.
And it was designed for residential real estate agents to track all their analytics. So we've been obsessive with tracking. So go back to the Omaha's Elite Real Estate Group days.
You're a numbers guy.
I am.
Obviously.
So in 2011, we launched our website, which is now kwelite.com. kwelite.com.
Did you hear that, folks?
That's it. So we launched this website, but we wanted to generate internet leads. This is like an unknown concept back in 2011. And so we started paying for Google ads. Google ads, the little ad that pops up.
Yep.
So people would click on our ad, which cost $1, and I needed 10 people to click to get them to the site for a pop-up to come up that they actually filled out. So once they've looked at like 4 pictures on our website, it asks them for their contact information.
Right.
So 9 people would be like, no thanks, goodbye. But 1 out of 10 would give us their contact. So that is a $10 per lead.
Sure.
$1 a click, $10 for someone to give us their contact. I then needed 50 people to give me their contact information to convert 1 sale. So it cost me $500 to convert a sale. The average commission off that sale was $6,000. And I would split it with all my agents. So I would keep $3,000 and the agent would keep $3,000, but it cost me $500 to acquire the lead. So my net take home was $2,500. I spent $500 to make $2,500. That's a 5X. And I figured those numbers out at the end of the year in 2011. So all I needed was more leads and more agents to work the leads. And that's how we grew exponentially. That simple, just by following that mathematical equation. So back to your KPI question. What we started tracking was based on your income goal. Let's say your income goal is 6 figures. And this applies to anyone listening in Omaha that wants to be a residential agent. By the way, if you want more information about being a residential agent, go to career.kwelite.com. Career.kwelite.com. So if you knew you wanted to make $100,000 a year, we know you'd have to sell 36 houses, help 15 buyers and 15 sellers.
Okay.
18 and 18, I guess.
Yep.
So to be able to do that, we know that we can actually reverse engineer it. So we know that it takes 5 calls, cold calls, text messages, instant messages, Snapchats, 5 messages to a decision maker to get 1 person to respond. And we know it takes 10 responses by a decision maker to get someone to meet us in person to share a listing presentation or a buyer's presentation. And we know we need to go on 3 of those appointments to get 1 person under contract. So it takes 150 call attempts to equal 1 executed contract. So if we then take 52 weeks out of the year times 150,
Carry the 4. Okay.
right?
Yep, I'm with you.
It breaks down to about 100 calls a week. We know that it takes about 103.5 calls per week consistently over a 52-week period to be able to make $100,000 a year. So if an agent wants to make $200,000, double the call attempts. If you only need $50,000, divide the call attempts by 2.
How many people on your team are actually doing that?
We have 150 people. We grew 500% in the last 10 months.
Holy
so
cow.
we started with 30, and we're up to 150 agents in Omaha, Columbus, Gretna, and Lincoln, and then a couple other surrounding areas. And I would say a majority of the people in our world are doing this because they've all taken the time to look at themselves and to find the life they want to live. And we've taken the time to work with them. We're a coaching organization that happens to be in the business of real estate. So we do accountability, coaching. We have 8 hours of content a week that we pour into our agents. And it doesn't matter at what level. You have a dependent mentality of people that need hand-holding. And we have a way to help those people that need hand-holding go into an interdependent model where they can do half the stuff themselves and the other half we still need help with. And then into an independent model where they're off on an island operating on their own. And there's a different monetization process for each of those, a different type of guidance and coaching and accountability dependent upon the type of people that are plugging in to our world. Because again, back to what we said before, we want to be about what we say we're about, and that is helping people become the best version of themselves. But that doesn't necessarily mean they'll ever leave the dependent model. They might become their best self inside of the dependent model, or the interdependent model, or the independent model, or leaving the industry altogether. There's another great book out there called The Dream Manager, and it's about a janitorial company that's having this huge challenge with retaining their employees. And one of the challenges they assumed was because of the income that they were paying all the janitors. They thought, I think like 50% of the janitors left every 12 months. It was just crazy turnover. So they thought, well, let's just give everyone a $2 pay bump and everyone will stay and we'll have way better retention. But instead of just giving the pay bump, they sent out a survey to everyone asking where are their pain points. And they discovered the biggest pain point was transportation, because a lot of people that are in the janitorial industry don't necessarily have vehicles. That's what the book says. And so they don't have public transportation at night when typically janitors are out working and they have to have a friend or family member take them to work. That's their biggest pain point. So the company went and bought a bunch of vans, similar to like UP Railroad with their train engineers, and they were able to send the vans out to pick people up, and it was a game changer. Well, then they were still having retention, not as bad, and they decided to do a second survey. And they came to find out people don't want to be janitors for their entire lives. That's not a lot of people's dreams. So what if they hired a dream manager, like a financial planner / life coach, to help the people in their world become the best versions of themselves, even if that meant they left their industry? They left to go start a painting company or to go become an attorney or whatever it was they wanted to leave. And they had the mentality and mindset that the people in their world didn't have to stay in their world forever, that their company could be the slingshot to give these people the best life they could ever dream of. And their business exploded. Their retention shot up. Their clients were happier, their admin were happier, everybody. It was a win-win-win-win for everyone because they took the time to care about the people that they served. And that's 100% our mentality. In all the businesses that we run, it's to help the people become the best versions of themselves, independent of if that means they'll leave our world, because we've still done them a great service.
Right.
And so back to the five regrets of the dying, when I'm laying on my deathbed tomorrow or 50 years from now, whenever that day does come, I want to know that I did my best to help everyone in my world become the best. If I did that, to me, there should be no regrets, including doing the best I can do for myself, not just the people inside.
So you'll never fire anybody.
We have released people because we don't fire anyone. People fire themselves. But we've released them from our organization because they didn't choose to serve people at the highest level. Absolutely. There are people that have been released.
That makes sense.
Into the world.
I don't use that word, fired.
They have been released. You are released. And we say it this way.
Into free agency.
They have defined their life that they want to live. And I have said this so many times. If I have people in my organization listening, you'll laugh at this. But I've said, if you don't believe, and I would say everyone that's listening, think about the world you're working in right now or the business you own or work for. If that is not the vehicle that's going to allow you to live and lead the life of your dreams, you should start making changes to go and find a different vehicle. And so I tell agents that work with us, admin staff that works with us across all these different businesses that we own, if you don't believe this is the vehicle to help you hit your goals, to live and lead the life of your dreams, you need to start the process of piecing out and go and do the thing that you're going to be the most happy for.
Well, how do you know if that is the vehicle? How
could they know?
Right. How could they know?
So I think the best way to know is look at your last 12 months and ask yourself, did I do all the activities that this organization told me I needed to do to become a better version of myself and have an increased income to allow me to live and lead the life of my dreams? If the answer is no, then either you're not doing the things you're supposed to be doing or the organization has failed you. And so people take that self-accountability, and when you have a process to track, when you have those analytics and numbers behind you, it's really easy to know, okay, you were supposed to make 100 calls a week over 52 weeks, but you only made 50 calls a week, and you made 50,000. Had you done what we had suggested you did, you would have generated the income. So who's culpable? They are.
Right.
And so it takes each person's being willing to self-analyze and ask themselves the hard questions, and that is, are they living up to our expectations we've set for them? And most of the time the answer is no. Usually people are the problem, not the company you work for or the products that you buy. We're the problem. We are
Yes,
our greatest
absolutely.
enemy. We
Couldn't
are our
agree more.
worst enemy.
It's you against you every day.
It is.
Would you say you're the trailblazer of teams in real estate in Omaha? Because I feel like
Absolutely.
teams have really like blown up
Across
in
the
5
country.
years.
Yeah, I had the largest team in Nebraska. At the time I left Berkshire, we had produced more real estate sales than any other team in the history of Nebraska. I don't know if we still have that. 730 sides. I don't know if anyone sold more than that. I don't think so.
Try to beat it.
Try to be. I know we were the fastest growing real estate team in history across all brokerage brands. No one's growing that fast. I've put that out. I get 120,000 downloads a year on my team building podcast, which is all about how to build and scale a team with not selling real estate, but just be focused on running a successful real estate team. And now our whole focus is at the brokerage level, where we're helping other people run dominant real estate teams.
Sure.
And so we're going out right now. If you're not at KW Elite and you're at another brokerage, or you own your own brokerage, we have an independent model that allows brokerages to just pay us a set dollar amount per year and be able to take advantage of all the technology that KW Elite prides itself in providing to Omaha. And so I'd love to talk a little bit about some of that tech. So
Absolutely.
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
first thing is a company called Verily, which, I'm not wearing any of their clothes. I'm like, which logo do I have on? Nike? No.
What am I wearing?
Right. I had their pullover on when I was golfing today, but it got hot. So Verily stands for virtual reality. It was founded in 2015 in Lincoln, Nebraska. And we're using a LiDAR technology to create 6D renders of homes that exist and don't exist. So essentially, if you're thinking about building, let's say, $500,000 house and there's no hole in the ground, you haven't started the process, but you're worried about the sight lines or how your finishes, fixtures, and or equipment might look inside the property, instead of just getting 3D renders, which is traditional across the country for builders, we can actually build a video game for you to fly through your house. So we will build your house out. It looks as good as real life. And not only can you fly through it, you can walk it in our VR studio. So we have a room similar to the room we're sitting in. It's about 40 by 40 feet. And you can walk through the room, and it's your house that you're walking through. So you can see the sight line from the front door, the kitchen, you can see the ceilings, you can see all your finishes, your colors, your cabinets. We can build all that out for someone. And then for homes that already
insane.
exist, all of our listings use Verily. And so all of our listings, if you go to sell a house with us, gets a drone flyover. All of our videographers and photographers are licensed to fly drone. We do a Steadicam fly through the house, but now we're going to start doing 6D renders. We've been doing 3D renders, which a lot of people are used to seeing through the Matterport technology solution. If you've ever been on, and you can like do a 360 degree view of all the rooms, advanced throughout.
It's like the Google Street View.
Just
type
like
thing.
Google Street View.
Yeah.
We think there's a big miss there, because what a seller is doing is they're capturing the best vantage points in each room.
Yeah.
But I want you to be able to go into the closet. I want you to be able to go into all the nooks and crannies of every active listing, so that you can actually tour a home without ever leaving your physical house. That's the future. And to be able to do it from your own VR headset, which you can pick up a pair of Oculus
$200.
Oculus Quest.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Quest is like $250. They're not expensive at all. And so we are currently testing out a technology with LiDAR, which is the same thing they use to shoot the ocean floor, to be able to see like where the bumps and how deep the floor is of the ocean. And we can build a CAD blueprint by using LiDAR, and then we can take a 360 picture and stitch it onto the CAD blueprint, which gives you the ability to tour the existing space in 6D. 6 dimension is defined by like your ability to walk around, look up and down, look under cabinets, look under countertops. It feels like you're actually in a real existing space. So we believe the future of selling products, not just houses, but shoes, cars, et cetera, this isn't a belief, this already exists, is to be able to do it in 6 degrees of freedom.
Are you still going to need a real estate agent with all this?
Well, the real estate agent is a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, okay,
but
all right.
This is a great question that you bring that up, because you look at watching a movie as an example. My wife and I rented a movie last night. How did we rent the movie? We didn't drive to Blockbuster anymore.
Right.
It still costs as much, if not more. There's no late fees, though, and that's how they used to make all their money. I think it was $6. I got it on. There's a lot of ways to obviously rent movies virtually now with the internet. So could that happen to real estate? I mean, our Walmart out west is 70% now self-checkout, which I couldn't believe I saw that recently. So you got big tech that wants to take people out of the game if they can. Real estate agents, it's going to be really hard. You can remove agents for certain things, but overall, I feel the client's going to lose a lot of money by choosing to remove the agent because there's a lot of pitfalls in a real estate transaction that an agent is necessary to navigate.
Sure.
Sometimes people will see a transaction go so smoothly, but they don't see why it's so smooth behind the scenes.
Sure.
And when issues arise, that's where an agent earns their money.
Right.
It's not when things go smooth. Also, it's all about maximizing profitability. So our goals are usually the same as the consumer, and the consumer's goals typically to make the most amount of money or save the most amount of money in the least amount of time with the least amount of energy. So technology can assist us in that process. For example, we had talked off air about e-signing. You can sign documents now with DocuSign or Dotloop electronically. You can now close in the state of Nebraska after the pandemic. You can close on a house and do a virtual notary. You don't have to physically go to a close if
That's
the company
game-changing.
has gotten the virtual notary. We can now show property virtual. We do virtual open houses. So we use FaceTime and go around and do an open house where we'll walk the property. And now with 6D technology, 3D technology, COVID hit and everyone's freaking out. We were already taking advantage of all this technology pre-COVID. We already had the solution. So we could keep Omaha families safe that didn't feel comfortable touring houses. We already had the 6D or 3D blueprint of the property. And typically they just want to go see it one last time in person once they've narrowed it down to the house they know they want to move forward with.
Sure.
So agents will continue to be challenged. The commission will continue to go down. And that's one of the reasons we launched all the ancillary businesses. We have a one-stop shop solution in West Omaha off 180th and Dodge is where our KW Elite headquarters is. It's a 10,000 square foot building. And we call it a hybrid tech-powered office of the future because it's more like a WeWork space. So we have a shared commons area, 1,500 square feet. It has a dartboard, ping pong table, a bar, a refrigerator stocked with any type of food and beverage for both the agent and the consumer. When you come into my office, you're offered a menu, and we seat you in a high tech-powered conference room that includes a wall-mounted 4K camera, which is inset into an Aver soundbar, 65-inch flat-screen Samsung. We have a Mac Mini mounted to the back of all of our flat screens, as well as we have a bring your own device solution. So you can screencast with a Android phone, a Samsung phone, an Apple phone. So everyone in the room can cast to the screen if you're looking at houses. And then of course we have Zoom on all the screens. So our vision was that anything that someone once did in a physical realm, they had to have a virtual option. This was all pre-COVID hitting.
Wow.
So
Good
we
timing.
had the solution. It was amazing
Yeah,
timing. So
great.
August, our office launches last summer, we had the solution so that anything that was once done in a physical realm or was required to have a physical space, we can do it all virtual, both for the consumer and the agent. So we have 8 hours of training content every week out of our office. You can attend all of those on Zoom. And we have an indexed library in Wix where it has tags for every topic. So let's say you wanted to learn about purchase agreements. You just search the word purchase agreement and it populates all the trainings about purchase agreements or dialer solutions or lead gen or open houses, whatever the topic might be. Because we believe for a business to exist today, and especially now more than ever, going into the next 5 years, the consumer demands the virtual option. They don't want to have to go to a physical space to do something. And so our office has been able to solve that problem and give the consumer and the agent the ability to pick and choose when they want to physically go into a space or if they just want to operate virtually.
I got a brain buster for you. We got a couple minutes here. One of the things you mentioned on your website, I believe, you said there's no excuses for not selling real estate. We're in a market right now where there's not a lot of inventory. Mm-hmm. What would you tell the 3,000 plus agents in Omaha, that there's no excuses for selling real estate when there's no inventory?
Yeah, so go find the inventory. You can create inventory. Are there people that want to sell? Absolutely. So every month in the Omaha metro area, 1,000 houses sell. 1,000 house sales creates 2,000 sides because in real estate you get a buy side and a listing side.
Sure.
Typical commission is going to be 5-6% off the final sales price. Typical agent in Omaha keeps 2.4 to 2.8% on the buy side, 3.6 to 4.2% on the listing side. None of that is in stone. That would be illegal, but that's generically what you're going to see. So I shared earlier that our investment company is able to buy 10 houses a month. Those are all off market. We don't buy anything that's on the market. We do it by making 22,000 dials a month per caller, and I have multiple callers. I didn't mention anything about mail. So you talked about some of the old school strategies that you're surprised are working in a digital world. Right. We run ads. We're Google screened. We do reverse prospecting. Which reverse prospecting is where you take a database of data and you can see based on predictable analytics, based on their interaction on the site, who the best people are to reach out to for any given reason. But we're going old school. We send out 10,000 mailers a month. And they're like the third notice mailer that goes out.
Sure.
And it says, hey, call this number. And we've tried everything and anything. And if you turn enough rocks, you will find opportunities. And I would even tell that agent with that question you asked to think differently about what their role should be, because that agent's still thinking in the old-fashioned traditional way. What are other ways you can create value for your client beyond the real estate sale? And that's one of the reasons we launched so many ancillaries. Is the big play in the future is the data that you have access to. A real estate transaction only happens once every 11 years, whereas insurance gets renewed every 12 months, property and casualty. So how many agents own an insurance company or are an insurance agent that can offer renewed property casualty every 12 months? How about mortgage lending? Interest rates are the lowest they've been in 50 years. So how many agents are also mortgage lenders and can reach out to their database to remind people to refi their mortgage? And a lot of agents aren't thinking this way, so I've coined this new phrase, and it's the hybrid agent or the agent advisor, who goes beyond the home sale to advise people on a lot more than just the real estate transaction. It's everything post the transaction. And that's what big business is focused on right now. Big tech wants everything. You look at Amazon and all the different things that they're offering.
Oh, yeah. It's all about data.
It's all about the data play.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So no excuses.
No
We're going to
excuses.
stick with that.
Yep.
We
I
got-
love it. I love it, man.
Any last thoughts before we wrap up here? Anything you want to get out to our millions of listeners?
You know, I think if any of the messages resonated with you today and you liked the mindset that KW Elite represents, we own a lot of different businesses in and around the real estate space. We'd love the community's support, and not only our brokerage, if you're thinking about buying or selling a home, cashofferomaha.com would be willing to buy your home in cash. Of course, Exarban Mortgage and Exarban Insurance can help you with property and casualty insurance if you want to make sure you have the best rate and you're not being taken advantage of by the insurance company you're currently working with. And then if you're interested in refinancing your loan, Exarban Mortgage can help you with that as well. All interested real estate agents can go to career.kwelite.com for more information about getting either into the real estate business, or if you're already an agent, to learn a little bit more about what KW Elite has to offer.
Awesome.
Boom.
Man, if you're not motivated after this
Oh my
podcast,
gosh.
I don't know what will. This has been awesome. Thanks for
I
coming
don't know
on,
if it's
Jeff.
I don't know if it's the rain or that.
We're getting amped now.
Let's go.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Jeff.
Thanks for
Appreciate
having
it.
me on.
Yeah.
This is great.
It's been another episode
Yep.
of the Brother Side Podcast. Till
Thanks.
next time.
You bet.